Meghan Markle is being accused of offering private photographs of King Charles and the Highgrove reunion for $4 million. The accusation rests on an alleged email said to have been sent before the meeting became public. The message claims the pictures were real, that Buckingham Palace had approved something, and that the Duchess would not accept less than $4 million clean. If authentic, authorized, and complete, that email could raise serious questions about privacy, trust, and commercial access to the royal family. But before it can prove betrayal, it has to pass 3 separate tests. The message must be authentic. The sender must have authority to act for Meghan. And there must be evidence that an actual transaction existed. The public record currently completes none of those 3 steps. That difference is small in wording, but decisive in evidentiary terms. The first reason the email feels explosive is its precision. It is said to have been sent on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, at 1:11 in the afternoon. It refers to Sussex photographs. It says the Duchess is in the United Kingdom. It predicts that news of a historic meeting will become public later in the week. It refers to the King, the Queen, Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet. It also mentions a supposed palace approval and a demand for $4 million. Those details create an impression of insider knowledge, but specificity is not authentication. A document can contain exact times, formal titles, and a dramatic price while still failing to prove who wrote it, who authorized it, or whether anything described inside it ever moved beyond a claim. The version shown to the public is not the full record. It is a redacted extract said to come from a chain of 6 emails. The sender's identity is hidden. The recipient is hidden. The publication is hidden. Contact details are hidden. The attachments are not shown. The 5 other messages in the chain remain unseen. The audience is therefore given the accusation in full, but not the material needed to test its origin. Meghan's name is visible. The $4 million figure is visible. The alleged palace link is visible. The person making the offer is not. That imbalance does not prove falsity, but the accused is more identifiable than the person making the claim. That is the first major receipt problem. The public is being asked to accept the identity of the sender without seeing the evidence that could establish it. A visible company address may look official, but the address shown in the sender box is not the same thing as verified identity. Email systems contain a technical record behind the visible message. That record can show which servers handled the email, whether the sending domain authenticated it, and whether the route matches the address displayed to the recipient. None of that information has been presented to the audience. A company address may be relevant, but the visible line alone does not identify the individual who wrote the message or establish that the account was authorized to negotiate for Meghan. The difference matters because a genuine company account could still be used by an employee, an outside contractor, an intermediary, or someone acting beyond their authority. An email could be authentic as a message and still contain false or exaggerated claims. A sender could be attempting to create a deal that Meghan never approved. A sender could be using the Sussex name to attract interest. A sender could believe palace approval existed when it did not. Authentication answers one question. Did this message come through the account it claims to come from? It does not automatically answer a second, more important question. Did the sender have permission to make the offer? That is why the email has to pass the second gate. Even if the message is genuine, the sender's authority must be established. Was the person a current representative of Meghan? Were they employed by the Sussexes? Did they have written permission to negotiate image rights? Did they own the photographs? Were they authorized to mention Buckingham Palace? Was the recipient told that the sender was acting officially or merely claiming to have access? The extract does not answer those questions. It places the Duchess at the center of the proposed sale, but it does not show her instruction, her signature, her approval, or a representative whose authority has been independently confirmed. This is where the distinction between a claim and a completed act becomes essential. The email appears to say that the Duchess would not accept less than $4 million clean. That language is dramatic because it sounds like a firm commercial demand. But a proposed price is not a completed transaction. The extract does not show an acceptance. It does not show a contract. It does not show an invoice. It does not show payment. It does not show transfer of image rights. It does not even show that the photographs were delivered. If genuine, the text appears to describe an attempted negotiation rather than a completed transaction. Without the rest of the chain, the audience cannot know whether the recipient rejected the proposal, questioned the sender's authority, asked for proof, or ended the conversation. The phrase, $4 million clean, has also been given a meaning the document itself does not establish. It has been interpreted as a demand for money free of tax. That is a serious financial accusation, and it cannot be built from one undefined word. In commercial language, clean could refer to an amount net of commission, agency fees, production costs, or other deductions. It could also be the sender's own wording rather than Meghan's. Without a contract, payment record, or explanation from the person who wrote it, the phrase cannot support a claim of tax avoidance. The amount may be written in the email, but the legal and financial meaning attached to it remains an interpretation. The same problem appears in the reference to BP approval. The phrase sounds decisive until one asks what was supposedly approved. Did Buckingham Palace approve the existence of a family meeting? Did someone approve a later public statement? Did an official know that private photographs had been taken? Did anyone approve the photographs being shared with the publication? Or did the sender claim that palace knowledge of the meeting amounted to consent for a commercial sale? Those are completely different levels of approval. The extract does not show the original palace communication, identify the person who gave approval, or define what that approval covered. Palace knowledge is not the same thing as palace commercial consent. A household may know that a meeting took place without agreeing that images from that meeting can be sold. A communications official may approve a line confirming the visit without approving the distribution of photographs. A legal advisor may say that a publication can ask questions without promising that no action will follow. The alleged email compresses several possible forms of knowledge into one powerful phrase. Unless the underlying palace message is produced, the public cannot tell whether the sender accurately described an approval, exaggerated it, or invented it. Another detail that deserves attention is the formal language used for Meghan. The email refers to Her Royal Highness, even though the Sussexes stopped using their HRH styles publicly after stepping back as working royals. That does not prove fabrication. An outside sender could use the style incorrectly, out of habit, or to make the message sound more prestigious. But the wording does raise a useful question about who wrote the email and how familiar that person was with the Sussexes' official position. It should be treated as a supporting anomaly, not a final verdict. One unusual phrase cannot authenticate or destroy an entire document. The photographs themselves are the most important missing receipt. The email reportedly says the pictures are real, but the audience has not been shown the files that would allow that claim to be tested. There is no way to examine when the images were created, what device produced them, whether the files were edited, who owned the copyright, or whether they actually show the Highgrove meeting being described. A screenshot of a photograph would not answer all those questions. The original files would matter. So would the chain of custody. Who received them first? Who forwarded them? Were they attached to the email, linked through a private gallery, or described without ever being supplied? No official photographs were released from the private reunion. That does not establish that no private images existed. Families take private photographs. Staff may document events for internal records. A guest may take a picture with permission. A photographer may be present under a confidentiality agreement. The existence of an image is not automatically a breach of privacy, and the absence of an official release does not make every private photograph suspicious. The real questions are who took the pictures, who owned them, who authorized their use, and whether any commercial offer was genuine. None of those questions is answered by the line saying the pictures were real. The timing of the email is one reason the allegation deserves examination. The message is said to have been sent before public confirmation of the meeting. If that date is authentic, it could show that someone had advanced knowledge of a private family event. That would be significant. But advanced knowledge alone would not identify the source. Palace staff, security teams, household employees, travel planners, photographers, legal advisors, media representatives, and members of the Sussex team could all have known something before the public did. The email would still need to show how the sender obtained the information and whether they were authorized to use it. The fact that the extract is said to come from a 6-message chain makes the unseen correspondence especially important. The first message may show who initiated contact. Another may contain the photographs. A reply may challenge the sender's claims. A later message may reveal that the proposed price was rejected. The recipient may ask for proof of authority. The sender may withdraw the offer. The missing messages could strengthen the allegation, weaken it, or change its meaning entirely. Selecting one email from a chain may be necessary to protect private information, but it also means the public is being asked to judge a negotiation without seeing how it began or ended. A responsible review should therefore ask for a clear source chain. Where did the email first appear? Who obtained it? Was it provided by the publication that received it? Was it exported from an inbox as an original message file or copied into a screenshot? Has the publication confirmed the address and content? Has the company whose domain appears in the message confirmed that the account existed? Has anyone involved denied or explained the correspondence? Until those questions are answered, the safest description is not authenticated proof. It is an alleged redacted email extract that may justify investigation. This does not mean the document should be dismissed. The wording is serious. The timing is potentially important. The price is specific. The reference to palace approval deserves scrutiny. The claim that photographs existed deserves scrutiny. If the original email is produced and the sender is verified as an authorized Sussex representative, the story would change immediately. If the publication confirms that it received the images, negotiated the amount, and verified palace consent, the allegation would become far stronger. Royal receipts should not protect any public figure from strong evidence. It should insist that strong conclusions are earned by strong evidence. The strongest case against Meghan is therefore conditional. It begins with the possibility that the email is genuine, that the sender was authorized, that the attached photographs were authentic, and that palace approval referred to commercial use. If all of that were established, the proposed sale could raise serious questions about whether a private family meeting was being turned into a commercial asset. It could also raise questions about whether the palace understood how the images might be used. But those conditions cannot be treated as already satisfied simply because the email contains confident language. The strongest counter case is equally important. The email could be genuine, while the sender was exaggerating, acting without authority, or attempting to build a deal around material they did not control. The sender could have used the Sussex name to increase the price. The palace reference could have concerned only the public announcement. The images could have been ordinary family photographs with no commercial permission attached. The publication could have rejected the proposal. Meghan could have had no knowledge of the correspondence. Each of those possibilities fits the incomplete record currently available. Both sides are using the same missing information. Those convinced Meghan commercializes every royal connection see the email as confirmation of a pattern they already believe. Those convinced she is routinely blamed see the redactions as evidence that the accusation cannot be trusted. But the missing sender, missing attachments, and missing thread do not automatically prove either guilt or innocence. They establish uncertainty. The purpose of examining the receipt is not to choose the interpretation that feels most familiar. It is to identify what the document can support and where the evidence stops. This is also where the reputation cost becomes impossible to ignore. Meghan's name is attached publicly to a $4 million betrayal, while the identity and authority of the person making the offer remain hidden. The accusation is fully visible. The authorship is not. That does not mean Meghan should be shielded from scrutiny. It means the standard should not be lower because the accusation fits an existing public image. A woman's past controversies cannot authenticate a new document. Dislike cannot replace a sender. Reputation cannot replace a contract. For many women watching in the United States and Britain, the familiar part of this story is not royal protocol. It is the speed with which a woman can become responsible for actions carried out through other people. A husband has agency. Representatives have agency. Editors, agents, staff, and intermediaries have agency. Yet once a woman is already distrusted, an unsigned or redacted document can begin to look like her confession. The question is not whether Meghan is innocent by definition. The question is whether the receipt can actually connect her to the act being described. The same standard should apply to Harry. If photographs from his family meeting were being offered, did he know? Did he authorize them? Did a representative act for both spouses? Was the sender using Meghan's name because it was more commercially powerful or more likely to trigger outrage? The email reportedly places the Duchess at the center of the price demand, but the meeting involved Harry's father, Harry's children, and Harry's return to the royal family. Treating every commercial decision as Meghan's decision would erase the agency of every man and institution involved. The palace also deserves scrutiny without speculation. If an official did approve any use of photographs, what exactly was approved? Was the approval written? Was it limited to family archives, press confirmation, or private distribution? Did anyone know a publication was being approached? Did the palace later object? A failure to sue would not prove consent. Institutions may avoid litigation for many reasons, including privacy, cost, publicity, and uncertainty. Silence can leave questions unanswered, but silence is not a signed agreement. The record must contain more than the absence of legal action. The magazine or publication said to have received the email is another missing witness. It could confirm whether the message arrived, whether attachments were included, and whether the sender's identity was verified. It could explain whether the $4 million amount was a demand, a negotiation tactic, or an invented figure. It could say whether editors contacted Buckingham Palace or Sussex representatives. It could also confirm that no deal moved forward. Without the publication's response, the audience is hearing only one person's interpretation of a private exchange. A right of reply is especially important because the allegation is so specific. Meghan's representatives should be able to confirm or deny whether anyone was authorized to offer images. Buckingham Palace should be able to clarify whether the phrase BP, approval, reflects any genuine communication. The company linked to the sender address should be able to confirm whether the account existed and who controlled it. The publication should be able to confirm whether it received the message. These responses would not automatically settle every question, but they would move the story from commentary toward a verifiable record. The document's release also creates a story control question. The person holding the email decides which message in the chain the public sees. They decide what remains redacted. They decide how the phrase 4 million clean is interpreted. They decide that BP means Buckingham Palace and that approval means permission for a sale. They decide that the sender represents Meghan. Those decisions may eventually prove correct. But until the supporting material is visible, interpretation is doing much of the work that authentication should be doing. This is why the allegation should be separated into smaller claims. Does an email extract exist? Yes, an extract has been presented. Is the original message publicly authenticated? Not yet. Does the extract contain a 4 million figure? It appears to. Does that figure prove Meghan personally set the price? No. Does the email prove photographs existed? It claims they did, but the files have not been tested. Does it prove Buckingham Palace approved a sale? No. Does it prove a transaction occurred? No. Does it justify further investigation? Absolutely. The three-gate test brings the entire story back into focus. Gate 1 is authenticity. The original message, headers, sender domain, and full chain must establish where the email came from. Gate 2 is authority. The person behind the message must be shown to have permission to negotiate for Meghan and legal control over the photographs. Gate 3 is transaction. There must be evidence of acceptance, agreement, delivery, or payment. An allegation can sound complete while failing each of those gates. At present, the visible extract raises questions at all three and closes none of them. What is proven is narrow. A commentator has presented a redacted piece of text described as part of a 6-email chain. The extract contains language about Sussex photographs, a future public announcement, palace approval, and a $4 million amount. The public has not been shown the original email file, the full chain, the sender identity, the recipient identity, the images, or the alleged palace correspondence. What is credibly reported is that the private Highgrove meeting took place and that no official photographs were released. The alleged email claims that private images existed and were being discussed commercially, but that claim has not been independently confirmed. What is disputed is the identity and authority of the sender, the meaning of BP approval, the status of the photographs, and the role of Meghan. The extract does not establish whether the sender acted officially, whether palace approval existed, or whether any negotiation was completed. It also does not establish what the word clean meant in the commercial discussion. What remains unknown is decisive. Were the email headers verified? Who controlled the sending account? What do the 5 other messages say? Were original photographs attached? Did the recipient verify them? Did Meghan or Harry authorize the offer? Did Buckingham Palace approve anything beyond knowledge of the meeting? Was a contract signed? Was money paid? Without those answers, the public cannot move safely from an allegation to a verdict. And what has the headline exaggerated? The available material does not currently prove that Meghan betrayed King Charles, completed a secret $4 million photo deal, or acted with Buckingham Palace's commercial approval. The alleged email may be genuine. It may also be incomplete, unauthorized, exaggerated, or misinterpreted. The amount is visible, but responsibility is not. The accusation is public, but the author remains hidden. The real issue is no longer simply whether the email exists. It is whether the message can authenticate the person it accuses. A strong receipt should reveal more than a dramatic price and a famous name. It should establish origin, authority, context, and action. Until the full chain is produced, the photographs are examined, and the organizations involved respond, the email remains a lead rather than a verdict. So the final question is not whether Meghan deserves trust without scrutiny. It is whether any person should be convicted of betrayal through a document whose sender, authority, and attachments remain hidden. If the full chain proves that her authorized representatives offered private royal photographs for $4 million, the evidence should be followed wherever it leads. But if the receipt cannot pass the 3 gates, then a powerful accusation has traveled further than the document that launched it. Is this the email that proves a royal photo deal, or the clearest example yet of how an incomplete receipt can become a complete public sentence?